Welcome back. Time for our weekend egg news. Let's check in with Bob Bosold over at Wax.
Well, Bob, Toronto, Los Angeles, Dalton Varsho going to get a ring?
Why not?
I hope so. Wouldn't that be nice to have a World Series ring right down the road in Marshfield?
And he can come back and show it off at Carson Park some night.
Oh, you bet he will. That would be a given, that's for sure. So starts tonight, always fun, the World Series. Puts everything else on the back burner, even, well, maybe not Packers and Steelers with Rodgers.
Well, that's kind of a big thing. I'm sure you'll be watching on Sunday night.
I'll be watching on a couple different TVs.
Okay.
But a lot of things going on, and nice weather, too, outside. So lots of good things happening. Let's take a look at what's happening this morning in our farm news. The battle between President Trump and the U.S. beef industry continues as the industry says the president doesn't understand how the industry and the beef markets work. Meanwhile, President Trump is taking credit for the current upswing in beef prices to producers, saying his tariffs have created higher prices for cattlemen. But the industry says futures prices have only gone down since Mr. Trump announced his plans to import beef from Argentina. Cattle industry spokesmen say his plan is a misguided effort, quote unquote, to lower beef prices in the store and threatens the future livelihoods of American cattle producers. In response to some of that criticism, members of the president's cabinet announced yesterday a plan to strengthen the beef industry. Agriculture Secretary Brick Rollins said the USDA will immediately expedite regulatory reforms, boosting processing capacity, get more locally produced beef into our schools, and work with other government agencies to fix what she says long-standing common sense barriers for ranchers like outdated grazing restrictions, that of course mainly in the West. The bottom line, as far as beef supply and demand is concerned, is that our national cattle herd is at a 75-year low, and demand for beef has grown about 10% in the past decade. Well, earlier this week, a Senate committee passed a bill that would extend grazing rights to help reduce the risk of wildfires that continue to burn up our western states. The Fix Our Forests Act would limit frivolous litigation and streamline the process for farmers and ranchers to graze their livestock on government land to help reduce those dead grasses and other materials that provide accelerants for those wildfires. Now, a similar bill did pass in the House earlier this year. Well, a distinguished group of 28 World Food Prize recipients, more than 100 Nobel Prize winners, and more than 250 other organizations came out this week to call on leaders of governments, industry, and civil society around the world to double global investments for humanitarian food aid and agricultural organizations. Now, the group called for a moonshot, they call it, of investments into agri-food systems to fight global food insecurity. In an open letter, the group warned that the world is not even close to meeting future food demands for more than 700 million people that are already going hungry and another 2 billion that really have no reliable access to food. They added that hunger anywhere is a moral failure of societies around the world. Well, the markets yesterday were a little higher on the Board of Trade, mainly because some U.S. and Chinese underlings are going to be meeting this week in Malaysia to try and line up a meeting between President Trump and President Xi a little bit later on. So that did move prices higher during the day. Overnight, we saw the corn price drop 1 to 2 cents. December corn at $4.26 this morning. The wheat price sitting at $5.13. November soybeans down a fraction at $10.44. Dairy market's a little better, still a long way from where we'd like to see them. The barrel cheese was unchanged, $175.5. The block's down 1.5 cents to $172.5. That butter price continues to drop, even though it was up 1.75 cents yesterday, $156.25. There should be, as we said earlier, lots of butter specials very soon in the grocery stores. Class 3 prices were a little better now. The near month October was down 6 at $16.89, but November was up 29, up to $17.43 a hundred, and December prices were up 35 at $16.85. And prices were a little higher out through summer. So lots of things to do. I got to do a little leaf raking later on today before the World Series. But everybody enjoy the weekend. Playoff football, I think, starts this weekend, doesn't it, Bob?
Yes, it does. Starts tonight.
All right. So You guys enjoy and have a good one. We'll see you next week.
You too,
See you,
Bob.
Bob.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.
From the haunted hillside in Menominee, Wisconsin. Hello, Wisconsin!